Welcome back to Coins Hunter USA, the home of rare treasures and hidden gems in American coinage. If you're new here, this channel is all about exploring the incredible world of US rare coins, where a simple penny, nickel, dime, or quarter can turn out to be worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of dollars. Every week, we dive deep into the fascinating history, designs, errors, and collector secrets that make these coins so valuable. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever emptied your pockets at the end of the day and thought, it's just a quarter? What if I told you that the ordinary Washington quarter you carry around without a second thought might actually be a hidden treasure? Today, we are going to explore the Washington quarter, one of America's most iconic coins. We'll uncover its history, reveal the rarest features, and show you why collectors around the world are willing to pay astonishing amounts of money for certain versions of this coin. Top 1 Today we're talking about one of the most legendary and talked about quarters in American history, the 1965 Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin might look like just another old quarter, the kind you toss into a vending machine or use at a car wash. But behind its ordinary appearance lies one of the most dramatic stories in U.S. coinage history, and a chance for collectors to stumble upon a treasure worth a small fortune. Let's start with a little bit of background. Up until 1964, every quarter produced by the U.S. Mint contained 90% silver. These silver quarters had intrinsic value, not just as currency, but as precious metal. But by the mid-1960s, silver prices were rising rapidly, and people were hoarding coins for their silver content. To stop this, the government made a bold move. In 1965, the mint stopped using silver for quarters and switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. It was the end of an era, and the beginning of a new chapter for American coinage. Now, here's where it gets exciting. During the transition, a small number of silver planchets, leftover blanks from 1964, were accidentally fed into the presses and struck with the 1965 date. These are known as transitional error coins, and they are among the most valuable and sought-after modern U.S. quarters ever discovered. Imagine holding a coin that shouldn't even exist, a mistake from the mint itself. That's what makes the 1965 silver quarter legendary among collectors. So how do you spot one of these treasures? The first clue is the weight. A regular clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver transitional error, however, weighs around 6.25 grams. That small difference is the key to unlocking whether your coin is worth just 25 cents, or tens of thousands of dollars. Another giveaway is the color of the edge. Regular clad quarters have a brownish copper line visible along the rim, but the silver error quarters are solid silver colored all the way through. And of course, the sound test. Silver coins make a distinctive, ringing chime when dropped, very different from the dull thud of clad coins. But wait, the 1965 quarter isn't just about silver transitional errors. Collectors also prize rare varieties and minting mistakes from this year. There are double die obverse, where parts of the design appear doubled because of die misalignments. There are off-center strikes, where the design is shifted away from the center of the coin. There are even rare examples struck on the wrong planchet, such as dimes or foreign coin blanks. Every one of these errors adds value and excitement, making 1965 one of the most interesting years for coin collectors to study. Even regular clad 1965 quarters can be worth more than face value when they are found in pristine condition. Coins that have been preserved without scratches, wear, or circulation damage, what collectors call mint state, can command strong prices at auction. For many collectors, finding a high-grade 1965 quarter is like capturing a moment in history, a reminder of America's shift away from silver coinage. Think about it. Millions of people handled these coins in everyday life. They bought groceries, paid for gas, and slipped them into jukeboxes and arcade machines. Yet within that sea of ordinary circulation coins, a handful were extraordinary, a handful were priceless mistakes that slipped through unnoticed. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's like treasure hunting, and the treasure is hidden in plain sight. So, the big question remains, how much can the rarest 1965 Washington quarter be worth? Well, one of these extraordinary transitional silver error coins has sold for an unbelievable sum. A single coin, struck in error and preserved in beautiful condition, reached a jaw-dropping value of $189,000. That's right, a coin worth less than a quarter at face value turned into nearly $200,000 in the hands of the right collector. This is why you should never ignore your change. Every quarter you see could be an opportunity, every coin could carry history, rarity, and hidden value. And the 1965 Washington quarter is the perfect example of how a simple mistake at the mint can create one of the most desirable treasures in the world of numismatics. So keep your eyes open, weigh your coins, check those edges, and always pay attention to the details. The next legendary 1965 quarter might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Top 2 We have a coin that will truly amaze you, the 1967 Washington quarter. At first glance, the 1967 quarter doesn't look unusual. It carries the familiar profile of George Washington on the obverse and the American eagle on the reverse. Millions of these coins were produced, and most people assume they are worth only their face value. But here's the truth, some of these coins are far from ordinary. Certain examples from this year have surprised the coin world with their rarity, unique errors, and breathtaking values at auction. Let's take a step back into history. The year 1967 was a turning point for U.S. coinage. Just 2 years earlier, in 1965, the mint made a huge change by removing silver from quarters and dimes, replacing it with a copper-nickel-clad composition. Because of this, collectors rushed to save silver coins, and the mint was overwhelmed with demand. In 1967, to reduce pressure and discourage hoarding, no mint marks were placed on coins. That means whether a quarter was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, none carried a mint mark, making it a unique year in American numismatic history. Now let's talk about what makes these quarters so special. While billions were minted, the key to their value lies in condition and in errors. Most of the 1967 quarters entered circulation, meaning they quickly picked up scratches, dings, and wear. Finding one in pristine mint state with sharp details and blazing luster is very difficult. Those few survivors are what collectors chase after, and they bring top dollar when they appear at auctions, but beyond condition, it's the errors that can make a 1967 quarter a true treasure. One famous type is the double die, where parts of the design, like the date, letters in Liberty, or even Washington's profile, appear doubled. These errors happen during the hubbing process, and they are extremely collectible because each one is unique. Another rare and valuable type is the off-center strike, where the design is not aligned correctly and part of the coin is blank. The more dramatic the off-center error, the higher the value. Imagine a 1967 quarter where Washington's portrait is shifted almost halfway off the coin. That's the kind of striking mistake that collectors dream about. There are also examples of wrong planchet errors, where a 1967 quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination. A quarter struck on a dime planchet, for instance, is not only smaller but also incredibly rare. These wrong planchet errors are highly sought after and can command astonishing prices. Even proof-like and specially struck examples exist, though 1967 did not have official proof coins. The mint did, however, produce special mint sets, or SMS coins, which are higher quality than regular circulation strikes. When these coins are found in flawless, top-grade condition, they can be worth much more than their face value. Now imagine the thrill of holding a 1967 quarter that looks just like all the others, yet has a hidden error or was preserved in superb condition. For coin collectors, this is what makes the hunt so exciting. Every coin has a story, and the 1967 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how history, mistakes, and rarity combine to create value far beyond its original 25-cent face. And now, here comes the part you've been waiting for, the value. While most 1967 quarters are worth only a few dollars in circulated grades, the rarest examples with dramatic errors or in superb uncirculated condition have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. In fact, one extraordinary specimen reached an unbelievable $172,000 at auction. Yes, that's the value a single quarter from 1967 can command when rarity and condition meet. So, the next time you're checking your change or going through an old coin jar, don't ignore those quarters from the late 1960s. Take a closer look, because one of them could be worth a small fortune. Top 3. We're talking about the Washington quarter from the year 1971. At first glance, a 1971 Washington quarter might look like just another everyday coin. After all, millions of these were produced for circulation, and most people alive today have held one in their hands without giving it a second thought. But here's the thing, within those millions of coins, a small number carry unique traits, rare errors, and minting quirks that transform them from ordinary pocket change into highly valuable collector's items. And that's exactly why we're going to take a deep dive into the history, the details, and the special features of this coin. Let's rewind for just a moment. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. For decades, these coins were made of 90% silver, but that all changed in 1965 when the mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition to save on costs. By 1971, this clad version had become the standard. Now, on the surface, this change might make you think the 1971 quarter is nothing special. But collectors know that sometimes it's the unexpected, like minting errors, double dies, or off-metal strikes, that make all the difference. So, what should you be looking for in a 1971 Washington quarter? The first thing is mint errors. Some of the rarest 1971 quarters feature double die obverse errors, where the lettering, numbers, or even Washington's profile show doubling under magnification. These errors aren't just fascinating to look at, they're highly sought after by collectors because they were produced in very limited numbers. Another type of error that makes these coins incredibly rare is the off-center strike, where the design is not aligned correctly on the coin, leaving blank spaces and making the coin appear misprinted. Collectors love these oddities, and the more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin becomes, but that's not all. There are also transitional error coins, where a few coins might have been struck on the wrong planchet, like a leftover silver planchet from earlier years. Imagine holding what looks like an ordinary 1971 quarter but realizing it was struck on silver instead of clad. That's the kind of rarity that can send the value skyrocketing. Of course, condition is absolutely crucial. A 1971 Washington quarter that has been heavily circulated might only be worth its face value, but one in mint state condition, meaning it looks almost brand new, with sharp details and no wear, can command huge premiums. Collectors and grading services pay close attention to every tiny detail, from the luster of the coin to the sharpness of Washington's hair and the clarity of the eagle on the reverse. The difference between a regular coin and a top-graded one can sometimes be thousands of dollars. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would anyone pay so much for a quarter from 1971? And that's where the magic of coin collecting comes in. It's not just about the metal, it's about history, rarity, condition, and the thrill of the hunt. For collectors, finding one of these rare varieties or owning a perfectly preserved piece of American history is like striking gold. And let's be honest, there's also the excitement of knowing that a simple coin you pull out of circulation could change your life. Just imagine, going through your pocket change or checking a roll of quarters from the bank, and suddenly spotting something unusual. A tiny doubling on the date, an off-center design, or a coin that feels just a bit different in weight. That's when the heart starts racing, because you know you might have just discovered something incredible, and here's the part that's going to blow your mind. Some rare examples of the 1971 Washington quarter have been sold in auctions for absolutely unbelievable amounts. These aren't myths or rumors, they are real, documented sales that prove the value hidden in coins we see every day. The most valuable of these quarters, thanks to rare minting errors and pristine condition, have fetched as much as $159,000. Yes, you heard me correctly, over $150,000 for a single quarter from 1971. The next time you come across a Washington quarter, don't just spend it without a second thought. Take a closer look. Check the date, examine the details, and see if you might be holding something extraordinary. Remember, treasures are often hidden in plain sight, and coins like the 1971 Washington quarter are the perfect example of that. Before we wrap up, let me say this: coin collecting isn't just about money, it's about history, passion, and discovery. Every coin has a story, and some of those stories are worth far more than we could ever imagine. And that's exactly what makes this hobby so rewarding. Top 4, we're diving into a piece of United States history that looks ordinary but holds extraordinary potential, the 1972 Washington quarter. Now, when most people see a Washington quarter from the early 1970s, they don't give it a second thought. It's a common coin, right? Just 25 cents, something you'd use for a gumball machine or slip into a parking meter. But collectors know better. Within the millions of 1972 quarters that rolled out of the US Mint, there are some rare varieties and errors that make these coins true hidden treasures. And if you happen to find one, it could change your life. Let's start with a little background. The Washington quarter was originally introduced in 1932 to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. For decades, these coins were struck in 90% silver, but by 1972 they were being made with the copper-nickel clad composition. While the metal changed, the artistry remained, the iconic bust of Washington on the front and the proud eagle on the back. But what makes the 1972 quarter so fascinating isn't just the design, it's the small details that went wrong at the mint, creating coins that collectors dream of finding. One of the most sought-after errors from 1972 is the double die obverse. On some coins, the lettering, numbers, or even parts of Washington's profile appear doubled when viewed closely. This doubling is the result of a die misalignment during the minting process, and while it might sound like a mistake, collectors see it as a prize. The clearer the doubling, the higher the demand, and the higher the price. Another valuable rarity comes from off-center strikes. Imagine a coin where the design is shifted to the side, leaving part of the surface blank. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. These kinds of mistakes are rare because most error coins get caught during quality checks, but a few slip through, and those few can be worth thousands. There's also the intriguing case of transitional planchet errors. Occasionally, coins were struck on leftover planchets from previous years, like silver blanks. If a 1972 quarter was accidentally struck on a silver planchet instead of a copper-nickel one, it instantly became a collector's dream. These are the coins that cause serious buzz at auctions. Condition, of course, plays a huge role. Most 1972 quarters in circulation are worn down, scratched, and only worth face value. But when you find one in mint state condition, with sharp details and that brilliant shine, you're looking at a completely different level of value. Professional grading services rank these coins, and the highest grades can fetch staggering amounts of money. Collectors love the thrill of searching through pocket change, coin rolls, or inherited collections, hoping to find one of these gems. And that's part of the beauty of coin collecting. It's like treasure hunting, where knowledge, patience, and a little bit of luck can lead to a life-changing discovery. Now here's the part that every collector waits for. Some rare 1972 Washington quarters, with the right combination of errors and pristine condition, have sold for jaw-dropping amounts at auction. And the most valuable examples have reached as high as $159,000. Yes, a single quarter worth over $150,000. So the next time you come across a Washington quarter, don't just spend it without a glance. Look carefully. Study the details. Because one small error or an exceptional condition could turn that little piece of change into an incredible fortune. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about rare coins that might be hiding in your own pocket, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Coins Hunter USA, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story from the world of numismatics. Who knows, the next rare coin we talk about might already be in your hands.